So delighted to welcome back onto the show, the NFL show here at talkSPORT, ahead of our exclusive commentary Sunday night of the Seattle Seahawks against the San Francisco 49ers. The man who certainly, at least to start the season, will be lining up as the number one wide receiver of those 49ers, Ricky Pearsall, is with us. Ricky, how are you feeling? How are you feeling just 6 days out from the season? Big rival game to kick things off. How hyped are you to get back out and playing football?
I feel really good right now. I feel really good. I feel like I'm moving really good. The team's coming together, and we're all excited, man. We're excited. It's been a long time coming, obviously, going through training camp and battling that out. And then now the season's here, and it's come. And yeah, I can't come any quicker. We got one more week, and we're rocking.
What's it felt like you to have a normal? I know you had the hamstring issue in OTAs and stuff, but to, in relative terms, have a normal preseason.
Yeah, it's feels really good, man, to have a training camp under my belt, to actually go through the system and, pick up some new nuances going through an actual training camp and not having any time off and going out there and being able to gain that trust with Brock and my teammates and start clicking and heading into the season. So, we're all excited. I'm especially excited.
Look, I want to ask all about that. I definitely want to focus on the football side. And look, I'm sure one day you'll just be a great wide receiver in the NFL, and people won't need to necessarily focus on what happened last year. But it is a year today since you were discharged from hospital. And I just want to ask, kind of, when you reflect on that 365 days that year, how do you feel different as a man now going into this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a year since yesterday, and it hit me yesterday. I woke up to some text messages, and I was kind of talking about it a few days before that and a week before that. I was like, oh my gosh, it's already been a year. And, when it became that day where it was a year, I kind of forgot about it. And then, obviously I woke up to some text messages from my loved ones and my friends. And it was a good day to just reflect and be thankful that I'm still here, thankful that I still got a lot of good people around me, to be able to show love and show that they've got my backs, and, I've grew as a person for sure. It's changed my perspective on life. It's changed a lot of things, man. And I like to say I was reborn again because I feel like a complete different person. And, I'm able to give all my glory to God, and because He's the one who's kept me in this fleshly life and on this world. So, I'm super excited to be here with, all my teammates too, because, those are the people that drive me, every single day to do what I love. And, when it first happened, the first question I said was, am I going to still be able to play this season? So, that just shows that, it just reflects the guys in here and, the love that I have for them, the love they have for me. And, it's been really good.
50 days it took. That's still astonishing to me since you made your debut. And I wonder, has it changed your perspective on football itself? Has it changed your perspective on what you do for a career and what you're going to do for a career?
Yeah, it definitely changes my perspective. It just takes a little bit of weight off your shoulders. When you look back at it and you really see, what matters in life. And, I think that's the only thing that I think of is, people, family, people, God's obviously number one for me, but, people around you and, all the relationships that you build, going through, the game of football. I've had some of my best friends to this day because of this game. So being able to sit back and, really look at life and, not take anything for granted and tell the people that you love them each and every day. And I think that's the most important part.
And last one on this, and we will talk some football. I'm desperate to get into that with you. But one of those weird quirks of life is that Brian Robinson gets traded to this team from Washington. Probably the only person who can in any way understand what you went through at that time. Have you ever discussed it with him? Have you had that conversation?
Yeah, we actually just told each other our stories. I think that was last week, and being able to go back and reflect on some of that can, directly relate to you. And he mentioned something. He mentioned you never know what you're gonna do in that situation until you're in it. And that hit home for me because I couldn't imagine what I would have done there. Everybody thinks that they know what they would do in that situation until you're in it. And that's what I found out about myself. Is I'm not going. that's what we both said. Is like we're not going because we both had similar situations happen to us. So yeah, we talked about it. We were able to reflect and relate in a way, and we're really excited to have him on this team too. He's a baller.
Yeah, very excited. And look, let's talk about that offense. Let's talk about you in that offense to start off with. This idea that you were drafted in the first round last year, a very specific role in mind. I think the media had for you. 49ers had just faced the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. They'd thrown a bunch of man at them. They tried to confuse them that way, and there was an idea that They wanted somebody to come in who could be a real true man beater. Do you think you got the opportunity, particularly in those last 3 games of last year, to show the world what you can do in that role?
A little bit, a little glimpse. I think with those last 3 games, those last 2 games specifically, I was able to go out there and make some plays. Some guys were down, some guys were not playing, and I had a bigger role going into the last 2 games. We weren't making the playoffs, so it was one of those where like, let's see what happens. And I feel like I try to make the most out of my opportunities that were coming my way, and it just was a good confidence booster, a really good feeling, going through a season that we just faced a lot of adversity and, with injuries and not winning games, and then finish it off. And with those games for me personally, was really important going into the off season. And then, I've always had the confidence in myself to get open. I mean, that's my job. I got to get open, and I've always had that confidence in myself. But, rolling into this next season, I'm, rolling with that same confidence.
With that in mind, how do you feel? You talked a bit about getting in the playbook, starting to kind of feel like it's clicked. Do you feel like that precision, that timing, that rhythm of this Shanahan offense, that you feel like you are clicking with it now?
Yeah, for sure. It's slowed down for me as far as the offense a little bit. Obviously he's putting new things in every day, so it really doesn't go too slow. But it's slowed down a little bit for me since last year. I got thrown in, I think it was week 7, and I like to say that I feel like I just rolled out of bed because I damn near did, and was thrown into the fire against the Chiefs. And I just remember being like, it's moving so fast, like the playbook. I just didn't have it down. DA went down that game, and so I actually had to move over to play X, which I was preparing for Z the whole week. Even though we are more of a conceptual offense, you got to kind of learn it that way, and it'll help you play every single position. But during that first week back, I was just learning that one position because I was like, okay, let's take it one at a time. And then here comes X coming around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like a chicken with his head cut off for a little bit. And then, I took it really serious in the offseason to really get this playbook down. And, during training camp, actually putting the cleats on and going out there with the team and, executing these plays. So it's been really good for me. It's given me a lot more confidence in the playbook and really seeing the bigger picture of things. And, throughout these walkthroughs, there's been a few times where Shanahan has got on my butt a few times about, some stuff in the playbook where I really got to learn it as a, concept. So, I took note on that, and, I'm trying to learn the bigger picture in this offense. So there's a lot.
He's never struck me as a man who's going to let you off easy.
No, for sure. He's gonna hold you down 10 toes for sure.
What about with Brock? A couple of Arizona boys. We heard how you guys have been working out in Florida, in Jacksonville, and back at home in Arizona over the summer. Tell us about what those workouts did for you, your relationship, and what it's going to mean for this offense.
Yeah, it's been really good. In the off season, it's about going out there with your guys and enjoying each other and having fun. We went over to Florida, and Brock trains in Jacksonville with one of his QB guys over there. So it was me, Jacob Cowing, and Isaac Garenda. We were already in Fort Lauderdale, so we were already in Florida. We were on that side of the map, and then we just were like, okay, let's go see what Brock's doing. He's in Jacksonville, so we took a flight up there right before we were going to head back to the Bay, which is where I was basically training the whole off season with our strength coach DP, and we had a few throwing sessions with him. But it was really good. It was really good to go out there, continue to develop that rhythm and that trust. And, it's good when the quarterback can take his drop and just let it fly and know exactly where you're going to be. So, anything we can do to, continue to develop that rhythm and that trust and execute on the field, we're going to do. So it was really fun. And then obviously the off the field stuff, just being able to hang out, talk, and enjoy each other. So.
I mean, you were just a year behind him in high school, right? Did you know of Brock? Did you follow him like when you guys were both in Arizona? Was he a guy you were aware with, or?
Yeah. We actually we got invited to this like award ceremony. It was like almost like a player of the year type of deal for the state of Arizona, and we both were at that ceremony. And I think he actually ended up winning the first year. I think he actually ended up winning that. I think I gotta ask him, but we talked there, and then we played each other in high school, and he put 70 points on our team, so it wasn't too fun.
You knew he was a baller. That's what we're saying.
I still had 180 yards, I think, something like that. It was up there. I still had it. We talked
something like that. 181, 3 catch. Just don't worry about it.
It was up there.
Love it, absolutely love it. And from the kid that you then knew back in high school and saw then. I've been fascinated to watch his journey over the last few years. So what have you seen from Brock going into this year as a leader, as a guy in the locker room, as a guy off the field?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every year from what I've seen from that, being in the locker room with him and then outside perspective, he's just the same guy. He's the same guy on and off the field. he talks about it. You know, he acts about it. He stands on business. So, you know, he's a real humble guy, but when he steps on that football field, you know, he's ready to go and he's about his business. And I really appreciate that about Brock. And, you know, we're always communicating with each other, going back to, you know, talking about the trust and rhythm and, you know, throwing with him. We're always talking between plays and asking him if, you know, the timing was good. But, you know, as far as Brock individually, you know, he's taking big strides. That leadership role, you know, that's big. That's big for him. You know, he's a really good leader, man, and all the guys respect him and enjoy being around him and going to war with him. And he broke it down today after practice, and he was like, "Let's go to war." And you know, that just shows Brock's, you know, tenacity and, you know, what he's about.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Look, there's been a lot of coverage of the injuries in the wide receiver room. You mentioned BA earlier, hopefully back not too far into the season. We've all seen what's happening with Juwan, etc. as well. So how is the mood in that room considering, you know, new guys coming in and out? And also for you, big opportunity to come in there as the main focus week one, right?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the injuries go, you know, that's something that, you know, we can't really control, you know, and there's been a lot of guys that come in and out of the receiver room this year. And yes, it may have felt a little weird and been a little bit different, but, you know, at the end of the day, we got a really good coach in there that, you know, gathers us up and, you know, told us to look around and, you know, and these are guys that we got to rock with, you know what I mean? And go out there on the football field and still enjoy. And I like us regardless. I love us, you know, whatever guys are in the receiver room ready to go week one, I still taking us. So, we can't really control that side of it, and we're ready to go out there and roll no matter what. So
There has been a little rumor that you might have a little roll out of the backfield as well. You mentioned Shanahan's little wrinkles. Might we see a carry or two from you? Might we see something a bit fun?
I don't know. I never know what's going on until he tells me, and we're on the field and we're running it. I just study the plays that we got going on, and, you know, try to execute them. It might be a
Love that.
surprise to me.
I love that. And look, just to mention this game this weekend live on talkSPORT, going up against some top tier corners in Reek Woolen, in Devon Witherspoon. And it inspired me to go and look over the season. If you're going to be kind of stepping into this bigger role, right? Derek Stingley, Denzel Ward, JC Horn, like you are going up against some of the very best in the NFL this year. This nonsense about a soft schedule, apparently, for San Francisco doesn't seem to apply to your position, that's for sure. So how hyped are you to go up against those guys this weekend and looking at that
Yeah, no,
cavalcade of guys you've got coming up?
yeah, I'm super excited, man. You know, if you want to be the best, you gotta beat the best. So, you know, going against the best guys in the league, I'm all for that. I'm super excited to be able to do that. You know, it's something I've always dreamed of, and I'm ready to compete and go out there and get to it. So,
It must be nice to be able to go to somewhere like that and quiet the crowd as well.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Love it. Look, Ricky, really appreciate your time, man. Really appreciate you talking to us about your story as well. You know, I know you've probably asked about it a huge amount, but it's really inspiring and cannot wait to see what you do on the field this year, man. Like, very excited for Sunday and for going on. So really appreciate you, man, and have a great season.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate you having me. Have a good one.